Alrighty. Hey, welcome back to APOS Plain Jane Reality. And I'm going to try to do kind of a big thing today for me and record 6 separate segments of kind of one thing, which I basically wrote today, over the last day or so, and where I explain everything. And I put it all into a meaningful context that's, I think, relatively easily digestible, but I might be wrong. I mean, it might be just too much information. But there's benefits if you can get to the end of it. And as I say, I'm going to do 6 different videos that are all going to be under this same heading of how we roll. I'm going to explain everything. Okay. Alright, here we go. This is part 1. How we roll. Human interaction in the age of the machine and a family history. Intro. Yet one more effort to tell the story of man in a nutshell, weaving my meaning into it. And this is APOS Plain Jane. Don't forget. Tell your friends. 2/29/2024, which was yesterday, really. A great leap backward. As humans, we relate in multiple ways, some below our radar. But in the relating, there is a magic, or there is magic. We are gregarious and social. We relish spending time with each other. We find meaning in our interactions together. We see ourselves in the context of our human relationships. We do not understand all the ways our associations serve and fulfill us, but we know we take pleasure from them. We involve ourselves with each other through our families, our churches, our social organizations, and in our commercial activities. We throw parties, go to concerts, play sports, and generally regard loners with a certain amount of distrust. To some extent, humans are a herd animal, like many other species on the planet. We have done this for a long time. Civilization is basically humans cooperating together for the greater good, and we regard that as a positive value. To be civilized is preferable to being uncivilized. Civilization brings order, prosperity, progress, art, development, and human institutions. Whether all this is totally wonderful or not is the question we will return to. My concern is with the soul of civilization. To the core of civilization rests with religion and belief. National identity is based on what humans profess to believe. In that we differ wildly, but the majority of humans do identify with a religion and prefer a belief in something rather than a belief in nothing. In trying to decipher these matters, I seek to understand how we roll and what are the drivers behind how we behave. In order to get closer to an answer, I need to stop speaking in large generalities and start speaking in personal terms. As much as I am reluctant to do that online, but because I have an inflated ego, I'm going to go for it. And these are the personal notes I want to add to this. When I married my first wife, who is Jewish, I converted to Judaism. As it turns out that there were many reasons why I did that as I look back on it so long ago. And we raised our daughter in the Jewish faith. I was baptized as a Catholic, but I was never raised as a Catholic. The sum total of my religious training was a couple of years of Presbyterian Sunday school. And I always felt a bit of a lack, having no faith to lean on. My mom had been raised as a Catholic, but she decided she'd had enough at some point and became a fallen away Catholic. Her core beliefs and values remained forged in her early training, however, and she frequently would quote brief aphorisms that were straight out of the Bible. Tell the truth and shame the devil was one of her stock-in-trade remarks. Dad was raised in a Christian home as well, being also Italian, but became very secular, perhaps as a result of his World War II experiences. As many post-war GIs had some difficulty reconciling what they saw in the war with believing that a loving God was involved in the affairs of man. And I think a hollow place had been created in him, resulting from his reluctance to embrace any faith. And he looked for a solution outside of himself instead of inside of himself, just as I did for so long, and perhaps as many others did and still do. Another strange wrinkle was that Dad's father took his family of 8 out of the Catholic Church after an altercation with the local priest. That is another story. Dad's family then landed in an evangelistic faith, a Pentecostal faith, which I think never fully resonated with him. It took me quite a long time to puzzle out many of these details and reassemble them into a meaningful context. Although my folks were married in the Catholic Church and Dad agreed to raise us as Catholics, that did not happen. And my siblings as well received no religious indoctrination or anointed training. And I don't think my story is vastly different from the story of many baby boomers of the post-World War II generation, and I think it explains a bit about the shift in values in the 1950s. At any rate, I feel that I was raised in a spiritual vacuum of sorts, like many young folks of an affluent but spiritually searching American era. Okay, that's the end of part 1, and thank you again for joining with me today, and thanks for the use of the hall.